All right, welcome back to this week's edition of Stock Up, Stock Down here with the PHLY Sixers crew. Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, I'm Devon Givens with you. And
you got the names right this time.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they didn't see it.
The whole point of restarting it, Kyle, is so that they didn't see it.
Well, if you must know, but no, we have another week in the books of Sixers basketball, and we have quite a bit to get to in terms of players and coaches and front office guys that could be available for their name to be called on Stock Up, Stock Down. So we begin this week with how about when he was here and started things off, he was really hot and things looked pretty good. How about right now, though, I throw at you guys one Buddy Hield. Stock up, stock down.
I'm looking over at our
cue,
human negativity machine over there.
I don't think I deserve
look at that. Stock down, Buddy Hield. Stock down. Last couple of games.
Yeah.
It's not been great.
I mean, it's not even, I don't think there's any way you can contest this. He has not been good over the last couple of games. We expect him to be better. It is just a down stretch. But yeah, he's been struggling in a big way.
Yeah, I do think that he has been fortunate that Tobias has been as bad as he's been, because it's given Buddy, and everybody else for that matter, some cover during this tough time. I would say some of it just comes down to missing shots. The defense has come and gone. I would say it's gone a lot more than it's come, if that's how I'm describing it. I think that when you watch him switching with other guys or trying to switch with other guys and the blown executions there, that's a problem. I think he's taken some silly fouls. On top of that, frankly, I just don't think he's been involved enough on offense to the degree I would want him. I think my point of contention would be, as Tobias has struggled, and we all know that Tobias is in a rough stretch here, rather than spending so many possessions and so much time trying to get him going, I'd rather try to keep Buddy rolling, because in that Boston game the other night, what we saw was Buddy hits 2 quick shots out of the gate. He's got 6 points, and that was basically it for him the rest of the night. The shot volume wasn't there. Efficiency certainly wasn't there. He just missed everything after that. And so I would rather see him try to shoot through a slump than a Tobias. And some of that comes down to designing more looks or calling more plays for him, using him as more of a primary ball screener, as a ghost screener for someone like Maxey, someone like Lowry, figuring out your combinations. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that he has cooled down after a great start, and they got to get him going again.
That's where I was going, and leaning more in that direction of how much of this is a result of Tobias Harris getting the attention that he's getting from his teammates and trying to crack that code of getting him on track, getting him going. And as a result, Buddy Hield has suffered in that way because the touches have not come his way. I don't know if that's been the case in Sacramento or Indiana as much, for the reasons for him to be moved from Sacramento to Indiana and now here to Philadelphia, and not getting enough of that opportunity there in those spots. But for Philadelphia, for what we saw those first few games, and even having the conversations of a healthy Melton in the lineup, if that's the case, does Buddy Hield stay in there? Because it just makes more sense with that other 4 that he has out there with Embiid coming back. Now we're looking at it, and I really believe that that's more of an issue of Tobias Harris and not the touches, because even the playmaking, at least in the Boston game, has gone down. Cleveland, the playmaking was still there. The assist numbers were pretty good in that win, but for the Boston game, it just didn't look the same. And we even also highlighted post-game after that Boston game where a hot potato from Tobias Harris, because he couldn't get a shot, but he was shooting a fadeaway left, falling out of bounds three-pointer to beat the shot clock with 2 seconds remaining because of that bad pass and that execution there down the stretch for Tobias Harris.
And the 2 made shots in the Boston game are on early designed looks.
Early action for him. Yep.
So I'm not saying that that's exactly what,
right.
Like, if you just design all these plays for him, he's going to make every shot or even like half his shots, whatever. But I do think if you're more purposeful about getting him the ball, getting him shots, it's going to ultimately benefit the team.
So some of the stats: over his first 4 games, he averaged 22.3 points, 7.5 assists, was playing 39 minutes per night, shooting 52.3% from the field and 45% from 3. Over the last 4, 11 points on 11.3 shots, 35.6% from the field, 3.8 assists, only 30.4 minutes. So he's playing almost 10 fewer minutes per game. That's certainly part of it. He's also missing a lot of shots. And I do think there is, I've seen some stats floated around about, basically Buddy playing with Tobias and yada, yada, yada. I think it's a little easy to arrive at conclusions through stats when the sample size is small. So I don't necessarily want to focus too much on that. But I do think there is something to the theory that he might play better without Tobias Harris on the floor. I think it's something to watch going forward. I think there's a lot of players who probably play worse when there are ball stoppers on the court with them, especially shooters who need to get into a rhythm. So it's tough to construct a lineup without ball stoppers on this team when you have Kelly Oubre and Tobias Harris playing as many minutes and getting as many touches as they do. This is just you've got to find a way to grind something out and get him effective over the next couple of weeks without Joel Embiid, because I think his world changes in a big way, maybe more as much as almost anyone. And obviously everyone's role and world changes when Joel Embiid returns. That's why he is the MVP, at least a reigning MVP, and would have been if he played enough games to qualify. But I think Buddy's changes as much as anybody else.
Stock down for Buddy Hield, but we all believe that he can snap out of it. Let's talk about some positivity here and go to a name.
Oh, spoilers.
Maybe. I'm saying maybe some positivity, maybe some negativity there when it comes to this name that we're throwing out there. I'm going to go with, how about Payne? Is that a stock up, stock down for the newly acquired point guard?
Spoiled it, you MFer.
Oh, man. Damn it.
Stock up.
Stock up.
Stock up for Payne.
Stock up for Payne. Looked pretty good, especially that one quarter where he had to really kind of keep them hanging around there. He dropped 10 in the one quarter, hit his threes, and that was the night we had our takeover at the arena on that Friday against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
We also had a good game, good fourth quarter in Boston the other night. Like, here's the thing I would say about Cam. He's been about what I expect in terms of there are nights when he's got it going. You can ride him as a bench scorer a little bit. There are other nights where he's the smallest guy on the floor, gets absolutely demolished on defense, and also struggles on the other end as a result of that. The thing that has allowed him to stick is just that Nurse has been willing to say, I'm going to play these multi-guard lineups.
Yep.
Like I'm just willing to try that. Some of that is based on necessity right now, being down guys and saying, hey, we're not in a position where we can stare down our noses at, any guy who can play, anyone who's in a good groove right now. But because of Nurse's flexibility, Cam has been able to sustain that kind of early success he had when he got here. And look, credit to him, because I think it would have been easy to say, hey, Kyle Lowry's coming here. He's the backup point guard. He's playing more minutes with Maxey, whatever it is. And you can get in a mental funk, and when he comes in, could be out of it, could be unengaged, whatever it is. You give a guy credit that in a small role has played about as hard as I think he can on both ends. Like, does that mean he's been a stopper or a rebounder or anything else on defense? No. But I think if you just look at the activity level, has been as good as you could expect there. And the offense, more importantly, has been there. He's been a shot in the arm at times, and he's helped them out.
And some of the extra passes that I've seen him make when we talk about Maxey developing as a point guard, but he's not all the way there yet. And you saw what Patrick Beverley did, quite frankly, when he was here during his time. But the offense is different with Payne because he's more of a scorer than Beverley. But some of those little things, that extra pass or that no-look pass that you feel much better because more of a point guard, pure in terms of Payne, we've seen some of that stuff already. And also that Cleveland game that they won. After Lowry was injured in that New York game and he had to sit out the next night against Cleveland, the game that the Sixers won, that was more of the load management, but probably needed that day off because of a headache, potentially from where he took that elbow and those stitches. He
actually joked that he had a headache at that post-game presser and then was like, I'm joking. Just so everyone is aware, he did not have a concussion.
It's the exact reason I called out sick a couple weeks ago.
There you go.
Had a headache from Kyle, had to take a day off.
Well, I don't understand that because I haven't had to take days off because I got tired of you guys so far. So with that being said, though, Payne played well in that Cleveland game. And we were sitting there like, hey, Nick Nurse is probably going to have to look at this. And if he does feel like he's leaning more towards Kyle Lowry, he looked down the bench and says, hey, Cam's there. Cam has been playing well. I cannot not play him. And so he's looked pretty good. And I know a lot of people were frustrated with the Beverley moving out, Payne coming in, and maybe watching Milwaukee and not loving what he did there. So far, being here in Philadelphia, Derek, Payne has been pretty good.
Yeah. And this is a stock up, so I don't want to focus on it too much. But my one concern, especially with Payne, not just him as a player, but really in this rotation because there's so many similar guards, you do need a little more defensively from there. That is sort of one criticism of him. But when he's shooting, what is he shooting from three so far? during his
As a Sixer?
Sixers season. He is shooting 37% from three, 42% from the field. Those are solid numbers, especially the three at the volume he's taking them on. Happy with his performance.
He's taking some tough shots, too.
He
Those
has
aren't
been.
on wide open looks.
And to Devon's point, I think the key is if he can make enough threes to stay on the floor, that does open up a little bit of playmaking, a little bit of ball movement, a little creativity that this team, despite the fact that it seems like they're playing small a lot, just doesn't have on the floor all that often. So it is good to get him on the floor. It is good for him to make enough shots to stay there because they just desperately need somebody to create shots for somebody else.
And now with the Anthony Melton out, you're going to need to tinker things a little bit with your guard depth overall, depending on the availability. I'm not going to say out, the availability of the Anthony Melton. See, I know my teammates. So when I said campaign, I figured I would get a positive one from that one there for the guys to stock up because I knew I would go here next. Tobias Harris.
Are we going to do the game where we like look
down.
around, see who's going to raise the card?
Stock down, folks.
Could
out
it
there
be?
for
like
you.
No. No.
Way down, Derek. Way down. Like down here. Way
this
down.
Is like Great Depression.
Going to throw it out the window. We're too high in our building. It's got to be on the
Fling
first
it out
floor.
the window, man.
Is this the 2008 recession or the Great Depression? That's basically the question that we're asking right now.
Tobias Harris, man. I think we all agree stock down.
I mean,
and we've talked a bunch about it.
I don't think there's even that much to analyze.
Yeah.
We've done multiple shows on how bad he's been and the funk he's in. We just, on our separate show Thursday, we talked about, are they going to give him a round of applause like Trey Turner? Like everybody knows he's been bad.
And we named the Tuesday post game Sabotage with his face on it. So yeah, we know. We know, but it had to be said. It is what it is. It is what it is. So we'll leave that one just there because we all agree it needed to be said again. Stock way down. Great Depression.
Yes, sir.
All kinds of stuff for him with how he's been playing. All right, let's get to another one. We know this one is it's just what it is. Tyrese Maxey, man. Tyrese Maxey, he's the lead dog here for the Sixers with no Joel Embiid. Is he stock? Oh, there. Okay, I just wanted to check. Stock up, stock down.
I think it's up. It's a tentative up.
Oh.
I would say this.
Okay.
It's up based on the last game for
Yes.
sure.
Okay.
It would
I
be
think
impossible not to.
Overall,
but
has
needed
been,
it too.
Yes, it's been, I'd say, work in progress, right? He's masquerading as a number one, and we all know he's not a number one guy. And that's okay. He's a young kid. The team is not designed in a way that he should be the number one of it, right? This team is set up for Joel to be the best player, Tyrese to be his lieutenant, and then the other guys to fall into their roles. It should be Tobias as the number three, but as we've discussed to death, that's just not who Tobias is or has been. And so to even get these performances from Tyrese like we got in Boston the other night, that's awesome. Like, that's great to see. It's not something you can count on every night. It is what's going to be required for them to win some of these games against tougher competition without Joel. But I think just to see that sort of game. And by the way, I got an email from somebody the other day, a regular listener, reader of ours, who said, well, Tyrese had such a great defensive game. Look at Jaylen Brown's stats. Jaylen Brown took exactly one shot attempt against Tyrese Maxey in that game. He had 3 turnovers. 3 turnovers versus 1 shot attempt with Tyrese Maxey as the main defender on him. Jaylen Brown's damage was done in that game against basically everybody else, against Tobias Harris, against Kelly Oubre, against the rest of the rotation.
And specifically in that fourth quarter when they made that run before they took everyone out the game.
Yes.
Him and Tatum.
Tyrese did a great job defensively in that game, on top of the 30-plus points, on top of playmaking for others. So that sort of performance as the true alpha, the lead guy against Boston, where you are at the top of that scouting report, that's as impressive as any game he's had this year, including the 50 balls, just because of the quality of the opponent, the struggles he's had in the past. That alone is enough for a stock up. I wouldn't even say, even if we took that game out of it entirely, I wouldn't say stock down necessarily. Yeah. I think it would just be, he's treading water. He's neutral, and he's trying to buy time for everyone else. He just needs a little bit more help in order to turn some of these games into victories.
Which game was it that he had 15 in the fourth?
The Cleveland
game to close the game. So even though Milwaukee,
that was a game where he was struggling for much.
Yeah,
of it,
exactly. So even though Milwaukee was the Sunday game sandwich in between, that leans more for me to stock up because of what he did against Boston. And number one, giving them a chance with how he was playing, and it made some of the other things easier for his teammates playing off of what he was doing with how they were defending the Cleveland game where he struggled so mightily in that one, but turned up 15 in the fourth to make sure that they secured that W on Friday night. And Milwaukee, it was what it was against the Milwaukee Bucks. Can't do it all. Yeah. So with it, that's why I would lean certainly to stock up for Tyrese Maxey for this question.
For sure.
All right. Let's go to one final one. How about this one? I'm very curious to see that this goes for you guys. How about one Nick Nurse? Stock up, Nick Nurse. Stock down, Nick Nurse. Which one is it?
I certainly wouldn't give him a stock down. I'm not sure I'd give him a stock up either. So we will leave this one to Kyle.
Oh, wow. Very nice of you. I actually might go down a little bit.
There you go.
One, we'll do like a,
I can't believe that worked.
By the way, Derek sat on our,
Derek blow up my spot. Come on now.
Had this giant white sign on his seat and was like, oh,
why
was that
seat?
there? Well, I didn't put it there, so yell at Devon.
Well, I don't want to do that because he might curse at
me. Hey, watch it. Watch it.
So here's what I would say. One, play our guy Ricky more.
Gotta play Rick, man.
That's true. For not playing Ricky enough, you get stock down.
Play Ricky 100%. More.
And what's the thinking of why not playing Rick?
Well, you got to get Tobias Harris's minutes.
Oh, okay. And KJ Martin isn't even there for the last two games.
I will say, like, as someone who wants Ricky to play, KJ is at least
I just mean he missed the last two games.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying Nick has framed it as those two are directly competing. With KJ playing as well as he has, like that's okay. I'm not going to get too mad. They're at least like they're athletes that can finish at the basket. They serve similar-ish purposes. I'm okay with them being interchangeable to some extent. I still would rather Ricky get the time, but that's a discussion for another podcast. I would circle back to what I said about Buddy and needing to design more stuff for him, needing to get him more involved. Like I would say that's where I want more from Nurse. And as Derek was bringing up, playing through Tobias and trying to get him going and all that, there's going to have to be a point where you just say, no, we're not doing that. And so for me, when I watched them come out of a timeout and Tobias was in the midst of stinking it the hell up, and then they said, you know what? Tobias post up. That was for me like you know what, Nick? No, thank you. Let's give them a different look out of the timeout. Just design it for somebody else and not that guy, as Boston's already in the midst of a run because Tobias is dominating the offense and not in a good way at the time. So I'd say stock down in that way. But on the other side of it,
neutral, huh?
On the other side of it, I did see him pull Tobias for a good stretch of the third quarter. So look, Nick's in a tough spot right now. He's got a $40 million player, guy who's one of your most important players, struggling like crazy. You're integrating new pieces. Your best player's hurt. The guy who's masquerading as your best player is not necessarily equipped to do that night to night. It's a tough job, but I'm going to be a little tough on Nick. I'll say stock down for this period. I'm not down on him from a big picture perspective, and that matters a lot more.
None of these really are. I think it's worth pointing out, none of these are really big picture takes or projections. They're just what has happened recently, which direction it's trending. It's not a overall indictment or a proponent of the player. It's just the way they're trending. They always can go the other direction. In fact, a lot of the players we're talking about now, we have spoken about in multiple different iterations of these stock reports. It's just the nature of a long season.
Tobias Harris, when you guys started it,
the
Tobias
only
was
NBA player who's consistent is PJ Tucker.
That's fair.
He gives you 2 points or fewer every night, and it's very
Is there
consistent.
something worse than the Great Depression?
I didn't say consistently good.
I'm just
I
asking
said
questions.
consistent.
Oh, man. Well, look,
all right,
folks,
Kyrie.
we appreciate everybody always
PJ
hanging
Tucker.
out with us. Well, Derek has the other one. That's
No, I
pretty,
don't.
No, I have both.
I'll take the other one. Give me the other one. Yeah, there you go.
There's
PJ Tucker, both. Just PJ Tucker.
This is up. You can't make it down.
Well,
it only goes up.
Well,
you can flip it upside down.
And that's why we're getting out of here. That's why we're getting out of here. We appreciate everybody.
Jim Cramer over here. Just reverse whatever he's saying.
With us on this week's edition of the PHLY Sixers podcast with Derek and Kyle and Devon. Of course, stock up, stock down. We'll talk to you later.
We all silly like the mayor.